Boom! Welcome. This is a very, very exciting day. A little bit of wheeze coming out. I'm so exciting because I'm also quite nervous because this is a day in which I'm going to be on the receiving end of my own show format. I'm going to officially pass the Golden Baton, see what I'm doing there, to the lovely Mr. Neil Bett, who is our curator and host of the Good Listening To show, Stories of Distinction and Genius today, where I'm going to be on the receiving end of my own show format. So without further ado, welcome for anyone watching across the worldwide interweb. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please pass you over to our host, Mr. Neil Bett.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. Wonderful to be here. Great to be, I think, the only host of the Good Listening To podcast, which is not you.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that right? And so far.
Indeed, and I can't think of a safer pair of warm hands.
Good. How does it feel being a guest on your own show?
Slightly nerve-wracking because I've realised, as we know, there's always that dynamic of which side of the table you're on. So I've been not overthinking, but also I realise thinking and probably losing a bit of sleep over it, if I'm honest. But there's a lot going on at the moment, particularly because I'm exhibiting about the Good Listening To show and a series strand next week called Legacy Life Reflections. So this is a very timely intervention.
Yeah.
And I know that I interviewed you a couple of months ago, and as soon as we did it, I thought, oh, you're exactly the right person.
Well, I'm incredibly flattered and pleased to be here. And we could talk about your T-shirt as well, which says, "What's your story?" rather enigmatically. But let's park that for a little bit later if we can. Because as you know, Chris, and it's like I'm teaching my grandmother to suck eggs. This is the show where you talk, and today I'm talking to movers, makers, shakers, mavericks, influencers, and personal heroes into a clearing or serious happy place of today, my guest's choosing, which of course is you. And we have a lovely slide of you there. And actually, when I was looking you up on the internet, which I was for my research, there's there's a lot there. There was a kind of montage of photos, some of whom were different Chris Grimes, but some of you really young, I don't know, in your 20s and then up to now. And anyway, here you are, wonderful. And as you know, we will be introducing you to your clearing, where there will be a tree, which you will shake. And we'll do that wonderful storytelling exercise, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There'll be a bit of alchemy and gold, a couple of random squirrels, which you have here. Yes, props amazing. A cheeky bit of Shakespeare, a golden baton, and a cake. And if I forget anything, then please do put me right. So as you always do, and what I'm going to do, Chris, is blow a little bit of happy smoke in your direction. You are a personal impact coach, facilitator, actor, motivational comedian, windmill Wimbledon tennis champion circa 2023.
Thank you.
And you are also, and this is not necessarily on your publicity, but I know you also to have been a teacher in the past, a filmmaker, definitely now an improviser, a comedy improviser, certainly an entrepreneur and joke meister extraordinaire. So, Chris, when are you going to settle down and get yourself a proper job?
Well, what a great question, and what a lovely bit of happy smoke to bathe in. How lovely. Yes, I've realised it's quite polymathic what I'm up to, but that's a word I discovered that explains stuff. Yeah. My family might say that's the other word for ADHD. So settling down with my new thrust to this, because I love storytelling, I'm trying to now find a way of being a bit of a digital nomad where I tell humanity's story, one story at a time, and that will allow me to sort of calm down and be in my clearing, which is so important. But as I'll talk about, my clearing is something that's been very energetically fueling of me in terms of what I feel it represents. But I am trying to slow down because, as you pointed out, I've been global head of myself for 63 years now, and my career started with you at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School. So since 1988, I keep getting annual updates from LinkedIn saying, "Oh, congratulations for being Chris Grimes still," and it's actually probably 40 years as global head of myself.
Yeah, but it is a really interesting and a very varied career, and I'm kind of wondering how it has been for you, because there's been lots of kind of renewal and change during that time,
Yes.
and maybe a bit of trial and a bit of error and a bit of sort of success and well, a lot of success. And how because you started out, I know you trained as a teacher originally at the central
Yes,
school.
at the
Yeah.
Central School of Screech and Trauma, as
Right.
it's now called. But yes, I
Yeah,
drama
yeah.
teacher trained following my dad's wonderful advice. I'll talk about my dad a bit later on as well.
Lovely.
And the advice was, if you're going to be an actor, be a teacher first, so that will
Yeah.
give you something to fall back on. So I ended up, going island hopping around Greece, thinking I'll just disappear. And island hopping saves tread on your sandals.
Yeah.
Ha ha. But the idea was to come back to something, and then I was lucky enough to get into the Central School,
Yeah.
knowing that I had a wonderful sort of summer of freedom that my son Stan is currently enjoying, is gap year. So it's very sort of what goes around comes around, and I knew that I was coming back to something firm, that my dad had, something organized. And so it was a 4-year teaching degree at the Central School before I still had the twitch and the itch, and then came and actually then did the 2-year postgrad at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School,
where we met, and we have quite a few things in common. The Bristol Old Vic, the Piglet Files, we both did, although not at the
Yes.
same time, which was a sitcom back in the sort of
back
dark
in
ages.
days. Yeah, with Nicholas Lyndhurst.
With
yes,
Nicholas Lyndhurst. It was going to be the next Only Fools and Horses, but it wasn't good enough, I don't think. But not because of us.
No, we were marvellous.
We were marvellous. And lots of comedy improvisation, of course, starting out with More Fool Us, and then Instant Wit and Barking Productions, which was a company that we ran together. And that has also borne a beautiful friendship, if I may say, over many years, many of which have been in a car.
They have, yes. You were just such a good listener, actually. Ironically, now it's called the Good Listening To Show, because as life's trials and tribulations, particularly in the fact, the more sort of profound thing, my wonderful, majestic, gorgeous creature of a daughter, Lily, now 25, was taking 8 years to come along naturally. And so there was an awful lot of us traveling with you, asking, checking in, and us going, it's still not happening. But, and meanwhile, like, you'd had Harvey and Angus, and I think we were just sort of, everyone around us was sort of getting there first. But not that it's a race, but, it was a very powerful time.
Well, it was, but it's born to beautiful and lovely children. And because amongst, as well as the checkered career, you are obviously also a family man. And I think
Yes.
you are a real family man, aren't you? You love family and sort of them being around.
They are also what's absolutely at the epicenter of the energetic hub of everything I do. My whole reason for being is the family. So absolutely. It's funny how they too belong in this area I've discovered, this energetic hub of everything I'm up to now, which is called the clearing, which is where all good questions come to get asked, all good stories come to get told. Families reside in it. My favorite work and jobs reside in it. My friends reside in it.
Wonderful. Well, that's an excellent segue into the point of the show. So, as you well know, we're going to be in your clearing, which is a serious kind of place where you feel at one with yourself. So, and you can choose what it is. So, Chris, where is your clearing?
It's everywhere, from the point of view of, I've now, as I just mentioned a few moments ago, sort of everything I now do emanates from this central idea. Back to my drama teaching days, that's about a clearing, because of the joke, drama teachers like to do it in circles. So you get people to listen to each other by putting them in a circle. And then when you become a facilitator and a coach, there's still this sort of idea of a circle that you step into. Winding forward, my daughter Lily is a singer and a shy singer, and she had a wonderful note from a brilliant singing teacher once, which is going to feed into the clearing. The teacher happened to ask Lily, what's your favorite color? Lily went, orange. And then the teacher said, imagine the biggest orb of golden sunlight you can possibly imagine. Put it on the floor. Lily, when you walk on stage to sing your song, stand right at the epicenter of that clearing, or that sunspot, as you warm both yourself and the audience, as you amaze them with the beauty of your voice. So that's it's stepping across the line. When I facilitate and coach, it's about stepping across the line to connect. So in the center is this area. Also, one of my favorite theatre shows is Gifford Circus, and there's a circus ring. And then there's my favorite type of lighting, which is called straw lighting, which gives everything a warm hue. And so energetically, my clearing is of itself the clearing. because it allows me to think, if I'm feeling that I've stepped across and I'm stepping in somewhere to help someone, to storytell, to be kind, to help, and it involves storytelling, I'm really happy. And then, of course, comedy improvisation is an empty space, brimming and charged with potential, where anything is possible, with this wonderful mindset of yes and, which, going back, reminds me of my first ever theatre book, which is Peter Brook's The Empty Space. And I just love this idea of a curated, energetic space where anything is possible. And so it's of itself a clearing. And then I have physical places that I go to. I'm sorry, this is multi-layered and multifaceted, but I think often it is. There's a place in Ashton Court in Bristol where I love to go on my bike. My bike is my freedom. And there's a particular promontory, I call it my promontory, where I cycle up Ashton Court, and then to the left there's a tree. In a clearing is a tree, and you and me, which is part of what I inform what I'm doing now. And there's a bench. And during the pandemic, particularly when this whole idea was percolating and the trials and tribulations of the pandemic were happening, I have a sort of factory default setting of this place in Ashton Court that I go to sit on a bench. And nowadays I record stories for LinkedIn where I say my bike is my freedom, and my bike is always in the background. So even being on my bike is a clearing too. It's that sort of movement towards.
Great.
And then there are other places, geographically, that I think of, but I think that will probably do as an idea of it's physical and metaphorical. It's
really interesting because I've seen that LinkedIn, your post on LinkedIn a lot of times, and you do it in exactly the same place, don't you? And it's lovely because it kind of changes with the seasons as well. It's summer or it's winter or whatever. And I'd always imagined it to be on the Downs. I don't know why. I didn't think it was Ashton Court. Never thought to ask you. Lovely. So it's there, and it's also your lit space or not lit space where you can inspire people. Wonderful.
And the other thing about the circus arena and the warm straw lighting, I don't need an audience there. It can be completely pitch black. And I love an audience. I'm an actor, darling. We love them. And it's wonderful walking on stage and entertaining, and particularly making people laugh, which is the joys of comedy improvisation. But in my mindscape, the Gifford Circus is just lit, and then it's just somewhere to step on, and it's quiet.
Yeah. Interesting. Lovely. Thank you. Okay, so you're there, and there is a tree, which we're going to shake, because we're going to play a wonderful storytelling exercise called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where you have 5 minutes to think about 4 things that have shaped you, 3 that have inspired you, 2 things which never fail to grab your attention, and 1 quirky or unusual fact about you. The 5 minutes, obviously, you've done before. Today's, we're not going to have 5 minutes of silence because that would be boring on a recording. But I think the point of that is not to overthink it.
Exactly. Yes.
Before we get into that, what sort of process did you use to come up with your ideas?
That's a lovely question. This is a curation of magpieing and squirreling away all my favorite storytelling structures and archetypes and metaphors. I like a metaphor and an analogy. And yes, so actually the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise came from a lovely friend called Dave Stewart, who you know as well, who runs Fresh Air Leadership Company. Hello, Dave Stewart. And I experienced the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as a really powerful way to accelerate rapport when people are walking, talking, breathing, reflecting outdoors, linked to the Nietzsche quote, the best ideas happen outdoors. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 was actually borrowed, nicked with his full permission,
of course,
because it's out there as a storytelling structure. But I thought, gosh, this is really wonderful when I was percolating this during the pandemic. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I wouldn't have even had this idea. So that's what I'm very grateful to the pandemic for, even though it was quite a tough time as a freelancer.
Indeed, yeah. I kind of agree with that I grew a lot, I think, in the pandemic, and had a bit of space to think about things that I normally wouldn't. So that's absolutely brilliant. Right, okay, so let's get on with 4 things that have shaped you, Mr. Grimes. So what is the first of your 4 things?
Gosh, it is very interesting being on the sharp, blunt, soggy end of my same questions. So the first thing that shaped me is growing up in Uganda between my being 2.5 and 10. Rather randomly, I was best friends with Adrian Edmondson's 2 younger brothers because his family were out there too. But actually, in truth, he was older than I was, and he was more of a friend of my sister, who was 5 years older than me. So growing up in Uganda between 2.5 and 10, obviously I was there because my family took me, not because I was fiercely independent and got up at 2.5 and thought, right, I'm off to Uganda. Thanks for coming. So yes, in swaddling nappers and diapers, off we went to Uganda. And it was my mum and dad, very impressively, in the mid-60s, achieving a bit of social mobility. Dad's dad being a steel worker, mum's dad being a train driver. But mum and dad answered an advert in whatever newspaper, like probably the Telegraph, I can't remember. But they answered an advert initially to come and teach in Botswana, and then things changed. And then off we went to Uganda. And that's where I have my first memories.
So were they both teachers?
No, mum ended up being an administrator. So she worked for a company called Nyanza Textiles, which made fabric. And it was across the Owen Falls Dam in a place called Jinja, Jinj, which is about 50 miles away from Kampala.
Yeah.
As it encroaches towards becoming 10, because of the history of Uganda, that was when Idi Amin overthrew Milton Obote, and there was a military coup, and then the whole halcyon days for my mum and dad of being in Uganda started to change.
Yeah.
And there were, shall we say, disappearances beginning to happen. So it was all getting a bit squeaky for this sort of golden period of all of our lives, particularly golden because the whole family unit were there together. My brother, my sister and I, and my mum and dad. So there's a family unit of 5. Things had started to change because when it's time for secondary school education, the stereotype was that the Europeans would send their kids either to Kenya, or back to England to come to boarding school. So I didn't do that, but my brother and sister did. They came to somewhere called the Royal Russell School in Croydon. Right. So meanwhile, I was left behind, but still having these extraordinary experiences of being in Uganda, and it was a phenomenal time.
And was the intention of your parents to stay for longer, and then they decided to leave because of the coup? Or
well, they went for 3 terms of work, which are 2.5-year chunks. So that we were there for 7.5 years because they would renew your work permit every 2.5 years. And then there were these wonderful opportunities to come back for the whole summer holidays. So 3 months of a chunk of time when you come back, and we'd go to Middlesbrough and I'd see my nana and granddad. But we had extraordinary experiences because when we went back, one particular time we chose differently, and we sailed from Venice to Mombasa on a cruise. My brother and sister were always really jealous because I did that, but they didn't because they were at boarding school. Bye. And off we sailed.
Yes. Always nice to get one over your brother and sister.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So growing up in Uganda, great. And what was your second, or is your second?
The second shapeage is then taking a slightly darker turn. Why Uganda was such a halcyon period of life for my mum, dad, and the rest of the family. Wind forward 10 years, and the idea of this construct, why it's particularly profound, I've experienced, is that round about once every 10 years or so, something pretty seismic is going to happen. My sister Hazel, who was 5 years older than me, was killed in a car accident in 1979. I was just 17. I was in my lower 6, not quite finishing, just wibbling about really. She just graduated, just got married, had absolutely everything to live for. And then bang, suddenly she was killed in a car accident. It's so long ago now, I can talk about it very, very matter-of-factly, but it definitely shaped me and the family because the sort of halcyon bubble was burst. And I think to this day, my dad died a year ago, but to this day, it sort of desiccated the family slightly because it took a lot of the joy out of it. And then you recover or not, you never get over it. But what shapes me to this day is the profound awareness that I lost a sibling, which is beyond tragic. But now that I'm a parent, the idea of losing my children would be very profound.
Yeah.
And in fact, I got very, very Lily's 25 now, and I got very, very nervous that she got to live longer than Hazel did.
Yeah.
Because 22 is so young.
Yeah.
And why it so profoundly shapes our path in death is that my life just would have been different. And I'm happy and I feel I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing with the right people around me and the right friends, but my life would have just been different. I know that if it wasn't for Hazel's death, I couldn't possibly be sitting here, because different windows of opportunity or different windows of possibility or randomness would have opened, because my life would have continued with hers.
Yeah.
And then she'd have been 68 this year.
Wow.
And she's been long dead, far longer than she was alive. But it's something that you can, when at my father's funeral a year ago, there was just that recognition of, gosh, I don't actually know how you coped, but I admired him tremendously for actually, even though the pain was seismic and he didn't necessarily, I mentioned the word desiccation, that definitely happened. It sort of wiped the smile off her face that otherwise I think would have smiled a lot more.
Yes. Oh, that's such a heart-wrenching thing to say. Well, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I have known about your sister, but I don't think I've ever heard you talk at such length about it. Actually, I remember you mentioning it and then very quickly moving on, and that's very well. It's very personal, and hopefully helpful to anyone who's listening that might have gone through something similar. Thank you, Chris. Okay, shapeage number 3.
Okay, shapeage number 3 is then when you get on the open road of making choices in your life. And then my drama teacher training, my actor training. So I now am happy to say to the world that I'm an actor, teacher, facilitator, coach, partly because I had that training, and it brings me to where I feel I'm now a motivational comedian, because I'm combining all of those skills. So it was the beginning of discovering what interested me, what excited me. And to this day, I'm still excited by comedy, by the mindset of yes and. I love theatre, I love film, I love the escapism of storytelling. I love jokes. So I think it was just the sort of mental scape of getting on the open road of adulthood, knowing what interested me and how it was pulling me towards being where I am today.
Sorry, no.
And the Steve Jobs quote about, back in the day, when if you look over your shoulder, we can all join the dots up backwards.
Yes.
And I definitely attribute the dots that were joined up
Yeah.
to getting on the path of my dad nudging me to make sure I came back from island hopping in Greece to go to something that was defined. And then I had an extraordinary privileged time in the context we were in. We had amazing teachers who are one of a kind. Nat Brenner, who was Peter O'Toole's mentor, terrified me at the age of 22, but there you go. And also Rudy Shelley, acting is reacting. So we met some pretty extraordinary people, some extraordinary people, because it reminded me of the power of ensemble. And I love collaborating to this day, because I love being part of some sort of ensemble that's trying to achieve something.
It's really interesting that you mentioned the jokes. You are Mr. Metaphor. You are also a brilliant joke teller, because I never remember them, because they just kind of roll off your tongue. But I always kind of forget a little bit of detail, which then doesn't make sense to the sort of punchline at the end. Has that always been part of you, or was there some kind of catalyst to make it happen?
That's a really interesting question. There was a really quite dark catalyst that happened that made my sense of humor, I suppose, awaken. This is a bit dark, and what I'm about to explain isn't very funny, but it was funny at the time because of the catharsis of comedy. One of my favorite quotes that maybe I'll say now, but it's we have to laugh, because laughter, as we know, is the first evidence of freedom. And there was, after I'd been off school for a bit, after my sister was killed, we went back to the sixth form bridge, which was just a place where the sixth formers would hang out. And everyone was a little bit on eggshells because I'd returned, and everyone knew that my sister had been killed. And then somebody new joined who had no idea, and they started telling this joke, the punchline of which everyone went and looked at me. And I ended up just hysterically laughing, because it was just this extraordinary cathartic. I'm not sure whether I should tell you the joke. I don't know, but maybe
I don't know the joke.
No, well, maybe people are thinking, yes, tell us the joke, or maybe not.
Maybe your editor and you can make the. Why don't you tell it and then?
So know that this isn't funny, but it's the catharsis.
Okay.
There's somebody sitting in their hotel bathtub going, and suddenly in the adjacent bathroom next door, there's somebody else in the bath, and the person in the bath hears a knock at the door. So literally a bathroom aside, and goes, oh, lucky it's not me. I haven't got any clothes on. And then there's someone at the door going, telegram for you, sir. And he goes, oh, a bit inconvenient. And she's listening by the wall. A bit inconvenient. I'm in the bath at the moment. And he goes, oh. So, well, can you shove it under the door? He goes, well, no, I can't do that. It's a private telegram. Well, can you read it to me? Well, no, it's private. Look, can you sing it to me then? And then he goes, oh, hang on a minute. And he flicks through a rule book and goes, do you know what? I think I can. Bit of the small print. I can, yeah, I'll sing it to you. You ready? He goes, yeah, far away. I'm in the bath, you twat. Hurry up. And anyway, the man sings, says, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to, oh, this is interesting. Happy birthday, dear Derek. Happy birthday. And then the woman in the adjacent bathtub thinks, oh, that's just glorious. It's my birthday in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm still going to be staying at the hotel. How exciting. So she makes a special day of it and goes, right, here we go. Woo. And she gets in the bath, gets it piping hot, lovely jubbly, hangs around for a bit. Suddenly, telegram for you, madam. She goes, oh, how exciting. Don't tell me you can't read it to me, can you? And he goes, no. You can't shove it under the door. He goes, no, I can't. But you can sing it to me. Can't you? Go, oh, yes. I remember doing this about a week ago, madam. How extraordinary. Are you ready? And she goes, yeah, far away. And he goes, pa, Freddie and the kids were killed in a car crash. Bloody hell. And it's not funny, but the Lord, and the sort of caused me to completely, well, it was cathartic, shall we say?
Yeah. Because
it pricked some sort of bubble of just getting me on the path of, oh, I've got to keep going and I've got to keep laughing, because actually, laughing really fuels me. And then, wind forward, and I apologize for that joke. I did say at the beginning, it's not funny, but jokes are, comedy pushing the boundaries is something we still talk about. We've riffed many times. Oh, awkward, comedy pushing the boundaries. That really pushed the boundaries. And then subsequently, one of my most one of the projects I'm most proud of is a film, a dark comic short called Knock Knock. And a bit of a spoiler, I sort of deconstruct a joke. And I wrote a film based on loving a joke and then working backwards as to how I could make it work. That's not related to what was cathartic then. This is 1979, 1980. But, we have to laugh, because laughter, as we know, coming full circle, is the first evidence of freedom. And you know how big catastrophic global events happen, and then you get some comedian saying something, and then people go, oh, what, too soon? That was really too soon with what had happened with Hazel. But for me, I still remember it almost as being the birth of a sense of humor, because it's okay to laugh. So I quite like dark humor now.
And there is a huge relationship between sort of darkness and humor being a way to cope with darkness.
Yes.
But also it's almost like a lot of comedians are quite depressive, for instance, or they have quite kind of odd private lives, and yet they're incredible on stage. And there's always that sort of very weird juxtaposition. Just on the kind of offensive bit, I was reminded of Joan Rivers, who the late wonderful Joan Rivers, who always said, if I don't offend 5% of my audience, I know I'm doing something wrong. So she would always kind of have that feeling that she was doing a show, and if the odd seat sort of popped up and people left in disgust, she was doing all right.
Yes.
So I think you should keep that in, but you're the editor, as is your editor.
Well, my instinct is, because this is about authenticity.
Absolutely.
I don't. I'd be interested to hear what people think. I mean, I did say it's not funny. Yeah. But there could be someone out there absolutely still trying to get over the fact they liked it. Who knows?
Yeah. And you told it brilliantly, as you always do. So thank you for that. That's
You're
amazing.
welcome.
I think we're on number 4, although I've got a bit lost now. But go on.
I think it's number 4.
Number 4, Shapeage.
I suppose another, Stan Laurel and Laurel and Hardy are just gorgeous, and they're a factory default happy place. They're sort of an inspiration, so there's a bit of an overlap there. Maybe I'll come on to them during inspiration actually. I think basically my family are the main shapages, because there's a constancy. I've been married to the lovely Janie for 30, the long-suffering Janie, because I mentioned there's an irony in what the good listening. Well, you're going deaf, aren't you? So I'm not really going deaf, but my quality of listening, shall we say, when I'm on is not as good as it should be. But my two lovely, Janie is such a constant, and it allows me, and she's also the great enabler. She enables me to just, go feral and hunter gatherer, do what I do. Meanwhile, she's really a phenomenal homemaker.
Yeah.
And monumentally present for the two most extraordinary creatures on the planet, which are my son Stan. I called Stan because I love Stan Laurel. I always wanted a child called Stan. I tried to call Lily Stan, but that wasn't going to go down well. And so Lily, majestic, gorgeous creature, primary school teacher. Stan just finished his A-levels, very witty, incredibly tall now, 6'4", and I'm getting patted on the head quite a lot. No, so they are, I mean, literally yesterday I was looking at them both and thought, you just astound me. How did you become, well, just so beautiful and yeah,
worth the wait, huh?
Definitely worth the wait, because interestingly, Lily was 8 years coming along, and then Stan was a one-off IVF success miracle 7 years later.
Wow.
So part of the other parts of the car journey was that was all right, but we need number 2 now.
Come in number 2.
That's the bell. Cashier number 2, please.
And he did.
He did.
There we are. How fantastic. Thank you. Okay, well, there we are. We've got a very good idea of your shapages and the sort of things that brought you to the place you are today. Let us move on to 3 things that have inspired you. Number 1.
Let's do that. So I think Monty Python, first of all, really inspired me. I mean, absolutely couldn't believe that, because that was round about me being 14, 15. And the first experience of gathering round the humming TV set, and just going back a step, there was the first humming TV set I ever saw was in Uganda, and when I was 7, I saw Stan Laurel, and then subsequently, as generations, wash, rinse, repeat, but have the genesis in earlier stuff. I think Michael Palin has replaced the Stan Laurel-ness that I admire and like and always enjoy watching.
Yeah.
So inspirations are comedy, probably, which would be Stan Laurel, first of all, white TV set, humming into action in Uganda. And I think it was County Hospital was the first one, hard-boiled eggs and nuts. Was the one I remember. And then subsequently there was a lovely film called Laurel and Hardy's Brats, where they play their own children. And you probably remember me wibbling on about that when we first got going with Instant Wit, the comedy improvisation company I'm still running to this day with the lovely Stephanie Weston. You formed the company too. And if you remember when we first transposed ourselves, because of the hilarious pun on Instant Whip and Instant Wit, into a bowl of blancmange.
I do remember.
Back in their day, they made huge props in order to, make a huge telephone, a huge chair, so they could play miniature.
Yeah.
Whereas, of course, nowadays it's so easy. You just do a JPEG and you diminish it. But,
yes.
So, but anyway, I was blown away by, I keep returning to the qualities of Stan Laurel as a true inspiration. Someone who reminds me as a bit of a style guide, to keep it kind, to keep it simple, therefore accessible.
Yeah.
And to keep it hapless a bit. I quite like the fact that I'm a little bit of a hapless twonk as well. And then Michael Palin and Monty Python was my sort of more adolescent version. So I love comedy to this day. That's a great inspiration.
Yeah. Fantastic. And yes, and you're not dissimilar to Stan Laurel in your comedy style, I would say, which has sort of pathos, a lot of physicality, and as you say, a slight haplessness, but actually underneath that, a very sharp insight.
That's very kind of you to say.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised. I did predict that he would be featuring at some point in the
Shall we say?
So it's sort of are we sort of saying Stan Laurel come Michael Palin? Do they kind of
Yes,
both of them.
Very ironically, I had the great privilege about 2 months ago of interviewing John Cleese on stage.
Yes.
And it wasn't my gig, so he didn't come in and do my show. Okay. And when I first started this show, at the top of my tree was Michael Palin. He doesn't know that yet. He doesn't know I'm coming for him. But
he might be listening.
But I hope he is. But very ironically, John Cleese, just before we went on stage, said, "Chris, come here. I've got a joke for you. Go on stage and say how disappointed you are it's not Michael Palin." And I went on stage and I said that because I had his permission. But I thought it was a huge privilege to meet the comedy legend of John Cleese. But I was thinking,
little does he know, it's true.
It's actually true. Yes, but it was,
Yeah.
So yes, he's definitely there. And
Yeah.
yes, I can't remember what the question was now. But
No,
thank you.
me neither. But I'm having fun, and that's the important thing. And hopefully you are too. So, where are we? We're still on things that have inspired you. So, what's your second inspirational moment?
I think I can't remember if it's the second or the third now.
Okay.
Anyway, the other thing that really inspires me is tennis. You mentioned very charmingly that because I play tennis in a place in Bristol called Victoria Park that happens to be called Windmill Hill. I am indeed the Windmill Hill champion of 2 years ago. It's very random because it's mixed doubles and you pick a number out of a hat. And I am on a cup. But to this day, people go, "How the hell did he win?" So it's not. I'm not really a champion, but I'm a champion. I'm on the cup.
Wow.
But the idea of also the pandemic, the idea of just twonking a ball about as a way of getting out of what you're worrying about. I love to this day the notion of the expression is just twatting a ball 25 feet away to somebody else. And then the comedy story about that was during the pandemic, there was even a moment when the tennis courts were closed. I don't know if you remember this. And we'd gone down a really weird trap of wearing a glove on one hand in case you're tonking virus balls at each other.
Right.
And then there's a neighbor who lives opposite to this day, who one fateful day I came out on the way to tennis again. And then he said to me, "You are sanitizing your balls." And I was, "Well, sanitize your balls in a moment." But there was sort of a tragicomedy sort of serious thing. And then after that, there was a comedy week where I was literally dishwashering my balls. Just in case you'd be twatting virus balls at each other. But anyway, The world went a bit mad.
Yes.
And I slightly think that's just loony. But I still love the fact that tennis is just every Saturday. It's actually, it would be very sad if I said Victoria Park Tennis Club is my tennis, but is my clearing. But it is also a happy place because I go every Saturday 1 till 3. And there's this sort of fixture that's quite regular. And Stan's coming back to play.
Yes.
And Stan has completely taken the mantle of being far better.
Excellent. But he's not yet a Windmill Hillbilton champion.
He's not on the trophy.
Note.
Yes.
So, you might say he's better, but he's not really.
And linked to that is also my love of ping pong. I absolutely bloody love table tennis.
I remember once playing with you and you were so good. I just didn't even try another one. It wasn't fun for me and it wasn't fun for you. You needed someone much better. And
Stan has now nicked that mantle from me as well. So it's the natural order of the succession planning, shall we say. Stan's better at tennis and ping pong now, but that's by design. I love that.
So would you say you're a bit of an Yvonne Gully Grimes? See what I did there?
I did, and I love that.
And for anybody aged under about 55.
Yvonne Gulagrimes.
Yvonne Gulagrimes is a little riff on Yvonne Goolagong, who was a very famous tennis player in the 1970s when Chris and I were little lads. And probably most of you weren't even born. Right? Have we done the three?
I think we have.
Yeah, because we got Stan Laurel and then we got Michael Palin. Was that right?
Yeah,
was he number two?
Yes.
Right. They sort of merged together, but that's fine.
And kindness inspires me.
Kindness.
And I must say this because you reintroduced me to the lovely Brendan O'Hay.
Yes.
Who wrote the book with Dame Judi Dench,
she did,
the man who pays the rent. And he was in the show and he very kindly, very spontaneously said, "What I love about your show is you've curated an oasis of kindness." And it's a perfect way to spend an hour of your time. And I was thinking, wow, that's wonderful.
What a lovely expression. He's got a great turn with words, isn't he? Great. Okay. Now we're on to the squirrels. I can't do this as well as you, but I am going to chuck a squirrel your way, and you have inadvertently headed it.
Serves me right. And it squirreled off in that direction.
It squirreled off, but that's the thing about squirrels. They go in all sorts of different directions. Sometimes really unpredictable. So this is the moment where you talk to me about two things which never fail to grab your attention. Number one, please, Chris.
Squirrel number one, please. Easy. It has to be food. I love food. And so I'm always squirreling to nom 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 when what is next.
Yes.
So I love food. I
Mm.
love I used to love beer and pizza,
Mm.
but then I'm in danger of encroaching type 2 diabetes.
Mm.
And so as we get older,
Yeah.
never used to be happier than when I had an ice cold beer and a pizza, but now it's more red wine, but not by the pint.
And still the pizza?
Intermittently.
Okay.
But it's not.
It's a bit like intermittent fasting. It's
Yes.
intermittent pizza.
Intermittent being a fat bastard is what I.
You have a slice, wait 5 minutes, then you have another one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
okay.
at school, I used to be called sticky, as in stick insect, and I wouldn't
Right.
be called a stick insect now. So over time, obviously, your biorhythms change and your diet, you get bigger.
Yeah.
So I love food. Nom 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 is
if you were to pick, the old kind of thing of you're going to die tomorrow. What is your last meal? What's your
great question.
meal of choice?
It would be either a roast chicken or it'd be a steak, and it's got to have chips, tomatoes, red wine.
Chips with your roast chicken?
No, roasty tatties.
Roasty tatties.
Yeah, okay. so potatoes of some form. Yes, so it would definitely
be
all
the trimmings.
Definitely all the trimmings.
Okay,
absolutely. That's the squirrel. Any trimmings, yes, please.
Okay, thank you. And number 2?
Squirrel number 2 would just be comedy, because I just love the idea when things renew to make me laugh again. I love it. So it's revisiting classic Stan Laurel stuff. Or I love being caught by surprise with the next thing that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, and I love deconstructing jokes. I like telling jokes.
And of some of the, because you mentioned, quite a lot of the comedians that we grew up with when we were children. I think a lot of us do find that very funny. Of some of the more modern comedians, so people who are around at the moment, who if anyone, who is it that you particularly like?
People like Bob Mortimer, who have the most brilliant depth of randomness, is very appealing. And then there's somebody else that I can't remember the name of that was in that lovely series about Last One to Laugh. And there's a guy who's very beardy. And if you can remember his name, I'd love you for that, because he's incredible.
Not Richard Ayoade.
No, he's very, very funny as well.
Yes.
So if you watch that series, The Last One to Laugh, there are about 3 or 4 of those lovely people in there.
Yeah.
And also, the character Kunk, the one who does Philomena Kunk. That was a Radio 4 moment. She's called Diana somebody, but Diana Morgan. I've actually written to her agent and asked her if she'd be a guest. I think she's hilarious.
She is hilarious,
and I love that.
Yeah.
And then I was at the Westfield College, which was the gate crashing scene for the Central School, where I did most of my acting in the early days before going to the Bristol of it. I was at college with Bill Bailey. He is the funniest person I've ever met. Yeah. And as in, I knew him, and I've been trying to get hold of him ever since, but I can't seem to get through his people's people.
Oh dear.
So Bill Bailey, I need to ask you to be on the show as well.
Bill, I saw him quite recently at the proms. He was at the proms.
Yes.
Did you see it?
I did.
And he did that wonderful typewriting thing, which is, it's worth looking back on. It is so brilliant.
He was pulling out all the stops on the organ, wasn't he?
Yes. Well, he's doing the organ, but also he did a thing, the bing, and that is actually a piece of music, which I didn't realize, and the orchestra behind him, and he was just, he's got an incredible sense of, he's very musical as well, isn't he? Yeah, he's an extraordinary talent. Brilliant. Okay, thank you. And it's come to the moment, Mr. Grimes, where you have to reveal a quirky or unusual fact about you that we may not know.
Yes. Now, this is part of the sort of ADHD-ness of the notion of comedy.
Okay.
I once didn't go on holiday because I'd spent £2,000 on getting an extra large wheelie bin made. Because I wanted to do a character that popped out of a box. And it was a character which I'm slightly embarrassed about to this day, called Stan Trolley. And why he was in a bin as a jack in the box is he could have been a comedy contender. He could have really been somebody. So the idea was genius, but the execution was sort of an afterburn of this film I was very proud of called Knock Knock. Yeah. And I do to this day think of it as being a really important experiment, because one of the things I do when I commit, I really commit, and I'm very tenacious and I'm very persistent. And I think that's a superpower, but also it's something that can be quite exhausting and a bit relentless sometimes. So that's a quirky or unusual fact that, and I don't really want people to go looking for it, because it's something that I'm sort of detached from now. But
Right. Do you still have the wheelie then?
no, it's gone into the. I think it went to a children's theatre company somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
And it didn't have any sort of repurposed value, shall we say?
Well, you could have got a lot of rubbish in there.
Yeah, there was yes, and I did put a lot of rubbish in there, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So yes, that's
Yeah.
a quirky or unusual fact, but it's true.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
but I maintain that I could have been there was something a bit cathartically dark about it, because as your life progresses, you may think you'll be somewhere, but you're somewhere different. And that's not being dashed on a rock of disappointment, but I was using it as a way of saying that this is a sort of, I was trying to make an internet sensation happen. But of course no one can plan that.
Yes, indeed. But you've always been really good at starting things. You're a real doer. You get things going. You start them, and you don't know whether you don't know what's going to happen to them. But it's I mean, everything is a little bit about kind of, because I think your whole career has been about kind of really getting as many things done as you can. Some of them fly, some of them don't. But that's life, isn't it?
And another thing I'm proud of, which again didn't really go anywhere, but it's a double act called Archie Turnip and Harry Flange.
I remember.
Welcome
with what lovely Howard Coggins, who's no longer with us,
yes,
sadly.
And that was a really, absolutely, that sort of, this is a big mention to the lovely, gorgeous man that was Howard Coggins. It was a very brief project, but he went, yeah, all right then. And we were doing old time music hall characters, Archie Turnip and Harry Flange.
Yes.
So if you Google Archie Turnip and Harry Flange, again, it's out there.
Thank you. And I think as well, I'm right, because you've mentioned Knock Knock a few times, which I think is brilliant, and has a very good and wonderful friend, Chris Bianchi.
Yes.
Who was fantastic in it. And that is on YouTube, I believe, as well.
It is,
yes,
right?
Yes. Yeah, so I'm sure if you Google Knock Knock Chris Grimes, it will.
Oh, and I must mention that, sorry, the huge inspiration and the huge thing that, that I love being co-artistic director of Instant Wit, the comedy improvisation company with the lovely Stephanie Weston, and you formed it with us many years ago, and we were there at the beginning, which was really exciting.
Yeah, no, it was a wonderful time. Okay, we're at the moment where the alchemy and gold moment. Is this a bit of gold?
That is a bit of gold there.
It's not really gold, because it's very light
for gold. Yes,
for gold. I could chuck it at you. Oh, well caught.
He caught the gold.
He caught the gold.
Love that.
Right. Okay. So when you are fully at purpose and in flow, what is it that you're doing?
It's when I'm making people laugh, I think, on stage. Of all the clearings, it's when I step onto a stage where anything is possible, and through the lovely mindset of yes and, yes and, yes and, yes and, as opposed to no but, or yes but, yes but, yes but. The sort of yes and mindset that informs all of my facilitation, the fact that I have the unique drama teacher, actor, comedy improvisation training, it all then, as a factory default, once or twice a month, I get to twonk about in front of an audience where I walk on stage and coming full circle to Lily's teacher saying, step into the golden light, cross the line to connect. I love making people laugh.
Great, and you are brilliant at it. So that is a great piece of purpose and flow. It's cake time.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! How are you on cake? Are you a fan?
Yes, intermittently I love a bit of cake.
Oh, like the pizza.
Like the pizza.
Have a slice, wait 5 minutes, have another one.
Exactly that.
Okay. And your cake of choice would be?
I'm gonna go lemon drizzle.
Okay.
Or carrot, if I can be greedy.
I've got to force you to make a decision here, Chris.
I
is
think
it lemon drizzle or is it carrot?
I think it's a carrot.
You think it's a carrot with the icing and everything?
Not the butter icing, nom, all of that.
Very, very nice. And as a cherry on your cake, I think maybe you've already said it, but an inspirational quote which inspires you. Well, it would inspire if it's inspirational, wouldn't it?
A recent quote that they always evolve and change.
Yeah.
So we have to laugh was that one about
yes.
freedom. I love a recent quote, which is be where your feet are. which plays into the wonderment of being able to be present. And the world is so full of monsters of distraction, squirrels, that it's very difficult sometimes to be truly present. So be where your feet are. And then linked to resilience, I love the Hamlet quote, which is, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Yeah.
And when we, struggle in life, that's always a good thing to remember. And linked to that, when something happens, Dave Stewart, who I mentioned at the beginning, talked about when shit happens in life, just regard it as a plot twist in the story of your life.
Yeah.
And then try and reframe what's just happened with, it's good, isn't it? Because, and that often you can turn adversity into something special or something that you learnt from. I mean, not always. I mean, there's catastrophe going on in the world where you can't say it's good, isn't it? You can't do that. But for those of us where our problems are mostly first world by comparison,
yes,
I think, don't overthink stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Be where your feet are. And it's good, isn't it? Because
yeah. And bringing that back to tennis, oddly, there's a great piece of Roger Federer gives a great speech to an American university. I don't know if you've heard it, where he's talking about his career, and he talks about he won about 80% of all his professional matches, but only 54% of the points. That's familiar to you, right? And there's something I think in that about the how you interpret losing a point. And his absolute genius was never worrying about what's just happened and always being able to focus on the next thing, right up to the end of the match, which made him so successful.
Yes.
So it's that kind of incremental thing that happens in life.
And in the athletics world, it's so relatable because you cannot change what's just happened, the past, but you can absolutely change the future.
Brilliant, very good. Thank you for that. That was fab. Right, I'm sure you've been given advice. Some of it kind, some of it not kind. What is the best piece of advice that's ever been given to you, and by whom?
Ooh. Now that's a definitely. Well, I'm having to think quite deeply about this. I think it's I think probably my dad actually just saying, don't worry, it'll be okay, as just something that's quite flip to throw away. And it links to a lovely allegory I like, which is the story of something called the Helsinki bus garage. Do you know what that story is?
You tell me.
It's about keeping persistent, keeping tenacious, and the famous story that I discovered as a Guardian article about 12 years ago, whenever. But it's about the Helsinki bus garage has 11 bus platforms that are all side by side, totally in parallel, and they're about to all set off on exactly the same trajectory in order to get out of Helsinki. And it's 11 bus stops. So it's two equations of 11 parallel buses all going in exactly the same direction. Anybody that starts out in the creative endeavor, because we're getting going in a creative career, round about bus stop 4, go, come on, and you get impatient and you get off the bus and you start to ply your trade. Oh, I'm a photographer. Look, can I show you my portfolio? And someone says, oh, you're a photographer. Have you seen the work of, they've done some wonderful photographs that are just like that. And you go, who? Oh, for God's sake. Or acting or any creative endeavor. And people sort of go, oh, and then go back to the bus station and get back on another bus and then get impatient around a bus stop 6, 7. So the punchline is, and it's a graphic punchline, but the punchline is, stay on the fucking bus. Just stay on the fucking bus, because it can only diversify once you've gone into the delta of your own style, approach, brilliance. You have to spend 20,000 hours to reach mastery in something. So stay on the fucking bus, which has become a different way of wrapping the same best advice that I give to myself, which is just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Stay on the fucking bus. And I've been on the bus since 1988 professionally, and I'm still on the bus. And because I'm still on the bus, this storytelling construct is the best creative idea I think I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I'm still on the bus.
Well done. And the stops, there are many stops ahead of you. on
Well,
that bus?
I'm hoping to recalibrate the stops because I'm enjoying the ride much more now,
Right.
particularly the fact that I've stumbled upon something that's been there all along,
Yeah.
which is a special series strand to it called Legacy Life Reflections, using the same storytelling structure, but much more preciously to record either your own story or the story of somebody precious to you for posterity.
So tell us a bit more about that, because I know that relates to the T-shirt that you're wearing, which
Yes.
enigmatically says, "What's your story?"
This has just been produced literally 3 days ago because I'm about to be at an exhibition, the Entrepreneurs Convention, for the Entrepreneurs Circle, which is something that I'm involved in. I'm paying for my own sort of business development, but I'm also in something called the Nigel Botterill Inner Circle, which is where you pay to be in the room where you get the ear of the king, but you have in each group you've got like 14 other entrepreneurs who are all there to promote their own business, not promote it, but get better at it. But you all become a bit of a hive mind. And this year, on January the 3rd, I suddenly found myself thinking, what have I let myself in for? But it was a bit like either being on The Voice on the BBC, where the judges turn round, or being on Dragon's Den, where the judges turn round. Everybody in that room went, this is a really good idea. And this year, they said, whatever you do, dig up the golden nugget that's been in the Good Listening To show all along, put it on its own plinth with its own website. So legacylifereflections.com has been my main cut and thrust.
No,
5 years ago, and I mentioned my dad at the beginning, I recorded my dad, Colin Grimes, Cheers to a Good Life. He's now become an energetic mascot for it because he was the first ever willing guinea pig for it. He knew exactly what I was doing, but there was no morbid intention, and there still isn't to this day. But with the gift of hindsight, I recorded my dad in the halcyon days of his 80s before he slipped into a crater of declining health. Now that I still have the recording, because what we miss the most is the sound of their voice. I wish I could hear Hazel's voice again. I really wish that I could do that. I've now got it, and it's incredibly precious. So actually, Dad's face is going to be big and majestic, and I'm grateful to you because you're actually coming to help.
I am. I'm very much looking forward to it.
You'll have one of these. I've given it to you just today. You'll be wearing your own. So on the stand, it'll be what's your story to hook you in. And then you get to scan a QR code and then win the chance of a completely done for you episode of Legacy Life Reflections. And that'll be very dynamically and manically happening as part of the Entrepreneurs Convention.
So anyone that's listening that might be attending that's something that they can hopefully bid for or apply to, and that's great. And that's that's an offering. So just to clarify, that is for people who are maybe in the autumn of their years. Would that be fair?
You can either play into someone wanting to record their own story for their children. They've reached that point, or it's something you can gift to someone that you love or is precious to you. So it's a real.
Presumably at any time of life.
Yeah. So what's your story is the hook.
Yes.
And everybody. My guiding principle is that everybody has an interesting story to tell, provided you give them the courtesy of a damn good listening to. And in fact, this used to be called, when I first got going, the damn good listening to, because that's also linked to coaching. I think of coaching as being giving somebody a damn good listening to.
Yes.
And so the premise is, if we're not careful, accidentally, because all of our lives deserve a documentary, not a footnote, people's stories can stay locked in, untold, unheard, unloved. And this is a really kind, genuine, authentic, human and connecting, and it's warm way, without going to some of the AI solutions where you can get a ChatGPT version of your dead relative if you want, but I wouldn't do that.
No.
And in fact, someone got in touch saying, listen to this. They repurposed my dad, which was very kind of them to do that, but it was just Mum may be watching, and I've not told her about this yet, and I don't think I'll play it to her because it's just one-dimensional. Sort of sounds like Dad, and he's wibbling on about the Bowls Club because they just nicked. But I just thought that's really not what this is about. I mean, AI is phenomenal, and I'm not trashing it for one moment, and I need to embrace it more. But this is warm, human, interactive, connecting, and generous. Not because I'm being generous, but because if you give somebody a good listening to, what a graceful thing to do.
Great. And we'll find out more where people can access that website. It's got its own website. Is that up and running?
Yes, legacylifereflections.com.
Wonderful.
And I think our wonderful Courtney, who's our technical assistant, can flash up a QR code, please.
Excellent. Let's have the QR code. Does anything happen, or is it just a?
I believe the audience can see it.
The audience can see it. Wonderful. So yes, please click on the QR code. Great stuff. Okay, now if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be, Chris?
I believe sincerely, I feel it's the same as stay persistent, stay on the bus, and keep on keeping on. One of my favorite quotes is from the fish Dory in Finding Nemo, which is keep on swimming, keep on swimming, keep on swimming, keep on swimming. In this life of ours, it's not over until it's over. So just keep on keeping on keeping on.
And the life of a sort of creative there's lots of things that can get in the way of that sort of self-belief thing, and I think we're sort of quite privileged, kind of being maybe kind of knocking on the door of our elder selves to be able to look back and kind of think, oh, when that happened, it was just a holding, bit of a holding pattern for this to then happen. But at the time, it's very difficult because there might be young people listening who are in the creative industries, and it is hard, isn't it? Because when you're in it, you just think, oh God, the phone hasn't rung. I haven't done anything. Nothing that I've tried to do is getting off the ground. How do I get out of that sticky situation? And I think what you're saying is just persist.
And you've just made me think, and thank you. This is a whole new thought. I would like to go and visit my younger self on the bridge of the sixth form, where I heard that slightly inappropriate but very cathartic joke, and I'd just like to wrap my arms around myself and say it'll be okay. And I do miss Hazel. She's in the Orion's Belt constellation in the sky, and I even looked at it last night when I got up for a wee, because I'm at that age now. But Orion's Belt was beaming majestic. The third star in Orion's Belt, the middle one, winks a bit. And when Hazel first died, I went out for a walk. The sky was clear and I saw that winking at me. So that's always been Hazel's star. So I think I'd go back to myself and wrap my arms around myself in that sixth form who has just finished pissing himself and crying a bit, because there's such a relationship between, happiness and despair, crying and laughter. Because I think it was just cathartic, and I was probably using it as a huge outlet to cry a bit, probably as well. But that's where I'd go to wrap my arms around myself and just say, look, you'll be fine. Keep going.
That's so lovely. Thank you. Do you cry more now that you're 60 than you did?
I do, but I go for months and months without crying, and then suddenly I'll get a period of being extra emotional. I'm getting very tired at the moment because of everything that's been building up to what's coming next week. And I'll be hugely relieved. Relieved. I've made up a new word. Relieved. I'll be relieved.
You will be relieved.
And I think I'd quite like a little cry soon.
Because
there's more crying to be done about Dad, what he's now doing for me as a sort of energetic mascot. But what makes me cry the most is the worry that my mum is lonely. So that'll get me going if I think about that. But that's what I cry about the most, and that's why I've had an extraordinary relationship with my mother anyway all my life, but particularly this last year, where the loneliness of Mum and Dad met when Mum went to Dad's 14th birthday party.
Oh my goodness.
And they were together all that time, and the fact they're not together now is obviously incredibly sad. And he was 87, Mum's now 88, and my desire to be present for my mum is really important.
Well, you are. Just by saying that, you are. We come to the moment where you passed me this golden baton at the top of the show. I've got to pass it back to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Now, when this happens, it won't be me, it will be you.
Yeah.
But who would you like to be a future guest on this show?
Well, I just want to put it out there. When I first got going with this whole construct 5 years ago, I'm now about 270 episodes in.
Wow.
On day one, I did say I would like to interview Sir Michael Palin. I've no idea whether he'll be listening, but I'd like to just put it out there to the universe that I would very, very, very much like to interview Sir Michael Palin. Rob Brydon was in the show live a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And I'm on a path to getting to Michael Palin. I've interviewed a wonderful man who's his best friend called John Altman.
Yeah.
I've also had John Cleese saying to me, go on and say how disappointed you are. It's not Sir Michael Palin. So it's not about that. It would just be an immense privilege. Yeah. And I'd love to do it live as well, because you know, I said back then, the moment you can see me interviewing Sir Michael Palin, we'll all know that I've made it. But of course, that's just the next mountain before you go to the next mountain after that and after that and after that. But indeed, I would absolutely love to interview him, not just on remote, on Restream. I would absolutely love to interview him live on stage.
Are you particularly inspired by the kind of Monty Python era, or is it more the kind of later travel stuff and all the other stuff that he's done, or is it everything about Michael?
I think it's everything, because the comedy was I mean, he was always the kindest, most Stan Laurel like. He was always the kindest, warmest.
Was he your favourite?
Yeah, Python? Of the Pythons, he was my favourite.
Yeah.
And there's that wonderful thing in the Holy Grail when they're by the window and he goes, you know, someday all this will be yours. What, the curtains? No, not the curtains, you dust Apeth. And that to this day, I still stand around the head when we're standing by a window and say, someday, son, all this will be yours. And he goes, what, the curtain? No, not the curtains, you daft Apeth. So there's so much brilliance that he's done. But anyway, since then, the travelogue stuff, because I love travel as well.
Yes, yeah.
And yes.
He's
sort of everything about him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, listen, that's a great sort of fanboy call out to Michael Palin. If anybody is listeting and knows how to get hold of Mr. Palin, or get him to listen to this or something, then please get him to get
a phone call. That'll be a no, love. Actor's disappointment.
But whatever you do, you stay on the bus if that happens.
Yes.
Right? You don't get off.
Yes.
Because he's just saying no now. He might say yes later.
In the universe of no, there's a yes as well.
Now, I am going to grab this first. It's not a first folio, but it is your Shakespeare, or your complete works of Shakespeare, which I know you took to drama school back in 1986 when we first started, 16986. What's the date today? 25/9. So we're a week out. Well,
yes.
40 years in a week.
Yes.
39 years.
Wow.
Jesus wept. Right. I think that's right. Maybe my maths is wrong, but anyway, yes, and all the men. It's all the world a stage. All the men and women merely players. Do you know? I saw As You Like It the other week, and God, I'm trying to remember her name. The person who played Jake Quees, really famous actress. It's a man, but do you know?
No.
Oh God, Harriet Walter.
Oh, gorgeous. Yep.
She was fucking amazing. She really was. I cried. I mean, talking about crying, I cried during that speech.
Yes.
It was so brilliantly done. She was excellent. But that's not why I'm bringing it up.
Thank you. I'll look that up.
I'm bringing it up because when all is said and done, when people are around your gravestone, the mourners are there, and they go for a cup of tea and a ham sandwich or a slice of pizza afterwards, and they say, do you know, the thing about Chris was, how would you like to be best remembered?
He was a really nice bloke, and he made me laugh.
It's in the bag, Bob. That is what people will say. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Right. Where can we find you on the internet? I asked this question and I Googled you, and it's quite hard not to find you on the internet. I've found, because I Googled Chris Grimes. There's a therapist called Chris Grimes. That's not you. There's somebody else. I think there's a journalist called Chris Grimes. But you're very prolific on internet. So if you just Google the name, but where in particular would you like people to be drawn to?
I would love people to, connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like to. No need to flash up QR codes if you don't want to. That's fine. But they may or may not come up. But yes, so LinkedIn you can find me, because that's, the sort of more grown-up world of where we can all play. Yeah. Because there's a series strand called Brand Strand Founder Stories, using the same structure to get companies to tell stories. But yes, Google Chris Grimes. But the good listening to show.com is what I'm really proud of. It's become a
Yes.
storytelling platform that I'm so enamored with and love it because it represents all of the clearing stuff that I described. And then legacylifereflections.com. Also look at instantwit.co.uk because that's the wonderful perpetual joy of being in Instant Wit. And our next show is the 17th of October at the Alma Tavern Theatre here in Bristol. Lovely.
Get that date in your
Get
diaries,
that date in your diary.
everybody.
Steph did say, please mention the show. I've given you
Yes.
the plug.
Yeah.
So yes, Google Chris Grimes, LinkedIn, thegoodlistening2show.com and legacylifereflections.com. And, get in touch if you'd like to find out more.
Thank you. We're about to close. It goes very quickly, doesn't it?
And thank you so much as well. I've had a very extraordinary time, I have to say. I got more emotional than I thought I might because of the pragmatism of knowing what was coming.
Well, you've absolutely given everything, as you always do to everything, but you've given everything to this interview. So it's going to be very special. Before we leave, is there anything else you'd like to share?
I would just like to leave by saying thanks for watching and listening, and thank you to you. And I'm so grateful for our ongoing friendship and connection.
Well, it's been a great privilege to interview you for one show only. Regular listeners who are sort of chewing at the bit saying, who is that awful person interviewing? Don't worry, Mr. Grimes will be back in a safe place next week or whenever, interviewing somebody else. But in the meantime, Chris Grimes, thank you very much and good night.
Good night.
Hooray!
Thank you.